Okay, everybody, let's begin. We have a limited amount of time, so let's get cracking and people will join us as they do. Welcome to your questions answered on Israel's latest travel regulations. We're very honored to have Dov Lipman, Liat, Amar, Arran, and Anthony Rosman with us. My pleasure to introduce the director of the Israel Center, Johannesburg, Liat, Amar, Arran.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to have you here with us again. We know we have been challenging you in the last 18 months about all the regulation and the ability to enter into Israel, to be in and out. It's been a challenging time for us to communicate that information to you as a community and to keep your rights as a community and your wish to go and visit Israel. I can tell you that behind the scenes, there is a lot of good people that fighting for the South African Jewish community will be letting into Israel, talking to the headquarters of the COVID, talking to the government of Israel, trying to find solution to let you step in. Luckily, we moved out of the black list to the red list, to the orange list, and luckily Israel is letting tourists come into Israel. We still have a few obstacles that Dov will elaborate shortly about when you have been vaccinated and who are allowed to enter Israel. And as we see, the world is moving forward and hopefully things will be relaxed. Every month we're going to see and more release in the restrictions and ability to let more people stepping in. I just want to emphasize before we starting that we all here on a volunteering position. None of us eventually making the decision, eventually the decision of the government of Israel, people sitting there with health consultant and making decisions that related to the rest of the world, not just to us. If you need a special permit, the Embassy of Israel in South Africa giving that permit, and you need to work through them. The Israel Center and the SAZF are here to assist, to navigate, to support you with your questions, but eventually we are not the authority that allowed or disallowed people to enter Israel. Having said that, we invited Dov Lipman. Thank you for all the work that you're doing for the Jewish community around the globe, letting people find their way to enter into Israel, to get the right information. Your staff people doing an amazing work with our people, checking their document and assisting us. So Dov, what have been changed? Please give us the latest information, what we can learn from that, and who can actually go now and visit Israel.
Thank you so much, Liat. And I really want to thank both Liat, the Israel Center, and the Zionist Federation in South Africa. You do such wonderful work, such passion for Israel, such a love for Israel, and it's wonderful to be in Israel. I know that you have partners around the world to work with who all have the same goal, which is to help people who are making Aliyah, to help those who love Israel, wherever they may be. And we're looking forward to that partnership continuing way beyond Corona travel. I proudly founded an organization called Yad Le'olim just a few months ago, largely growing out of the Corona travel crisis. But the goal is to be a voice in the government and the Knesset for both Olim, their families, and global Jewry. And we'll deal with that at a later time, but just so people should know where I'm coming from in terms of the platform to speak tonight. I'm going to go through the very, very basic changes to the rules because I want to keep this as simple as possible, and then we'll allow your questions to drive the conversation. I just want to make one point now before I start, and that is we are in a little bit of a crisis mode only because the form that I'm going to speak about in a moment is actually down. It's not working, and therefore for a temporary period of time, everything that I'm saying right now is not applying, but I want to speak generally, and then I will say a word about what things are happening right now. So as opposed to what we've experienced over the last number of months, when you in South Africa, or if you're watching from anywhere in the world, submitted a form to the consulate, you were a first-degree relative, you showed the proof of relationship, etc., and it went to the consulate and they gave you an approval, or your relative in Israel went to the Misrad Panim, to the Interior Ministry, and they submitted a form. That is no longer the case as of November 1st. And we get a lot of people asking us, where do I submit? It's no longer the first degree relatives. Starting November 1st, it's totally different. And I'm going to focus very much on South Africa so no one gets confused. The bottom line is, at the moment, if you want to travel to Israel, that is open to anyone who has either had their second dose of a vaccine or their booster within the last 6 months, 180 days. I'll say it that way since that's the way the government is speaking. Let me just say that again. At the moment, if you are living in South Africa or anywhere in the world outside of the European Union, your path to get into Israel is by being vaccinated, either your second dose or your booster shot, within the last 180 days. Now, I know that in South Africa in particular, that is quite a challenge. I know that the situation there is not the way it is in other places in the world, perhaps, although there are many around the world who don't have access to the boosters. But that is the bottom line. Now, when I say the second dose, I want to clarify, because we've had this question from South Africa. 1 dose of the Johnson & Johnson is enough for this to count within the 180 days. So if you're in that category that I just said, 1 dose of the Johnson & Johnson, second dose of Pfizer, second dose of Moderna, of the other ones, or a booster, if you're within 180 days, you don't go to the Interior Ministry. You don't go to the consulate, but rather 24 hours before your flight, you will go onto the Ministry of Health entry form, and you will fill out that form. And assuming that you fit the criteria that I just said, when you fill out the form and do it correctly, you will immediately get a green pass. And that is your ability to go into Israel, along with a negative PCR test from within the last 72 hours before your flight to Israel. So for example, if you're flying from South Africa and you're going through Ethiopia to go to Israel, it's 72 hours of your second leg of the flight to Israel. That's when you have to do both of these forms essentially in order to be able to have the access to Israel. Now, if you are having any problems, I don't want to go through right now all the different technical problems because people will get lost in that. I'm inviting you. I mean, it could be that Liat and the Israel Center are available to help. I don't want to invite them to be so, but you can certainly go to yadlaolim.org. I just want everybody to know because there are always questions that come up. Yadlaolim.org. Fill out the form, choose Corona Travel, and we have a wonderful, wonderful team. Ariella and Maureen and Gail and Judith and Deborah, and they will answer your questions and help guide you through the filling out of the form. All I want to mention is 2 points about that form, assuming that when it comes back up, it'll look exactly the way it looked beforehand. And that is, when you go on it, don't be intimidated by the Hebrew. You can easily click and turn it to English. That's number 1. And number 2, you will see a place where it says upload your documents here. Don't do that. That's a place for people who have digital documents, but rather you will enter it manually. And then at a later point in the form, there's going to be a place where you can load up your documents. And the last point I want to make is you want to have your vaccination certificates with you as you are traveling. Even if you have the green pass, you have the negative PCR, they are doing spot checks in Ben Gurion here, and I'm happy that they're doing that because if we have rules, let's make sure people are keeping to them. And if you do not have a vaccination certificate and they spot check you and somehow you got through the system, people are being sent back to their countries of origin. And I'm not saying that to scare anyone who's following the rules. I'm saying it to let you know that it's important to have that documentation with you. So again, just going to go over that again. Within the last 6 months, you had your Johnson & Johnson, your second Pfizer, Moderna, or your booster. You qualified to enter into Israel with a negative PCR, the entry form, which will give you the green pass, assuming that you did it correctly, and have your vaccination certificates with you. It happens to be that in the European Union, those who are recovered from Corona within the last 6 months are also able to get into Israel. I'm going to put this in parentheses right now. We are fighting very, very hard on a daily basis with members of Knesset, with the ministers, and we have a lot of people who are supporting us to try to open it up for those who have recovered from anywhere in the world. So there is, we are fighting for you. We understand that it's very, very difficult if you can't get in because you don't have the access to the booster, and we are working very hard for other options to open up. So that's the basic rule that I just mentioned. Exceptions. At the moment, there is an exception that's available for parents who don't fit this criteria to be able to fly to their children's wedding. So if a son or daughter is getting married in Israel, the parents, if they don't fit this criteria, they can get an exception. How do they do that? Through the consulate. You turn to the consulate, you make an application. When you fill out the application, you show all the evidence of the wedding. You'll show the file that was opened up in the rabbinate in Israel. You'll show your proof of relationship, just like it was before. If you need any guidance in filling out that form, again, you can turn to us at Yad L'Olim and we'll help you fill out that form. After you submit it, you will get your application back. If you are not hearing from the consulate and it's getting closer to your flight, again, be in touch with us at Yad L'Olim and we will be able to help you to get the approval via the consulate. So that is the one exception that's in place right now. I will be at the Knesset tomorrow, and I'm there many times a week working to try to widen those exceptions because we believe that grandparents who are having a grandchild being born should be able to come. Siblings should be able to come to their children's weddings. Families of lone soldiers should be able to come. The way it was before, we are trying to get those exceptions in place, but they aren't yet. So right now it's limited to parents for their child's wedding. I want to mention something else, which I forgot to mention before, which is critical, because I mentioned that you can get access to Israel if you were vaccinated within the last 6 months. Please hear this as carefully as possible. Number one, you have to wait 14 days after your vaccination in order to gain entry into Israel. So for example, if you are vaccinated on a Sunday, Monday is day 1. And when you get to day 14, that is the day that you can have entry into Israel. Otherwise, it is not allowed. That's number one. Number two, if you got entry into Israel within the 180 days of the vaccination, but the 180 days are going to expire while you're in Israel, I ask you to send an email to info@yadlaolim.org, info@yadlaolim.org, and we will guide you regarding that situation. But you have to make sure that your entry into Israel is within the 180 days. That is, these are the critical points that you need to know. Insurance. Many people ask. In the past, you have to show a special insurance policy to show that you have corona coverage outright. The official rule is that you need to have insurance that includes corona in Israel, but you do not have to have a policy which says it outright. You don't even have to show it to anybody. This is essentially for you. It's a protection for you in case, God forbid, you get corona in Israel. The Israeli government is not fitting the bill for you, and therefore it's worthwhile for you to either check with your current insurance carrier to see if they cover insurance in Israel, and if not, you should get it because you want to have that coverage in place. These are the general rules at the moment. What I mentioned before about what's happening right now, and I'll mention it in case people have flights while this is the situation. Right now, that entry form is down. And by the way, I'm going to ask, it could be that people are putting the link up so people can see. But at the moment, I see that Ariella from our team is posting things for people as well to see as we're going through. It would be important to see that entry form link. Right now, it's not working. It's not working. And we saw this right away. We were in touch with the health ministry, and they've put out the word to all the airlines and all the airports that while the form is down, you can show up to the airport with your negative PCR test and with your vaccination certificate, showing that you have the vaccinations, and you are allowed to fly just temporarily to Israel with that. If you're having any issues or any trouble, you're at an airport where they're not allowing you, please, again, be in touch with us at yadlaolim.org. We are going to be up. I already know I will be up all night tonight because there will be people in airports who are trying to get in, and we'll be available to help you. We contact the airports, we contact them, we contact the government, and we're always there to try to help. So one other thing that people always ask about, and as I'm talking, I'm sure more things will come. What about children? Children can't be vaccinated and they haven't recovered. What about them? There is only one exception for children right now, and that is for children under the age of 1. Children under the age of 1 are allowed to fly with their parents, but they do have full quarantine when they come to Israel. What does that mean? Officially, that means 14 days, which can be reduced to 7 days if they have a negative PCR upon arrival and a negative PCR on day 7. So basically, when you go to the form, you would choose other because it's a child who's not vaccinated, and that is the way that you will be able to bring that child under 1. I know that there are a lot of people that are saying, what does Israel want from us? I can't travel if I can't bring my children. Again, there's always this balance. They're trying to figure out protecting health. And we do know, by the way, that one of the variants came into Israel through a child. It's just reality. And that's why the ministers and the people involved are always trying to work on this. Some people ask, what if I come to Israel within the 180 days and then it expires? Can I get a booster in Israel? The answer is there are opportunities to get boosters in Israel. It's not simple. You can certainly reach out to us and we can guide you on where it's possible. Sometimes you'll show up there and it's not happening. You definitely want to have get them to give you documentation. But again, if it expires the 180 days while you're in Israel, you can definitely be in touch with us, info@yadolim.org, and we will help guide you through that situation. So this gives you a general idea of what's happening. I know there are a lot of questions, which will drive the rest of the conversation. I want to emphasize again, 24 hours before the flight, within 24 hours, that's when the entry form is filled out. That's where you will tell them about the vaccinations. If you happen to be in the European Union and you're watching, that's where you can load your recovery certificate. You have to have the negative PCR, you have to have the certificate with you, and you have to be within 180 days, and you have to be 14 days after the vaccination. That's the general piece. I certainly have something I want to say at the end, but is someone going to be reading questions and we'll take the conversation out? Okay,
yeah,
so
and Anthony collects all the questions, yeah.
Okay, great.
So Anthony collects all the questions to us and squeeze them so that we can help people. Anthony, you are muted.
Sure. Thanks so much, Dov, and thank you everyone for participating in the seminar. I see we have nearly 300 participants, so most certainly a lot of interest in people wanting to come and see Israel, either to see family or to come home or to visit friends. And I think it's just testament to the fact that South Africa is a massive lover of Israel, and we really appreciate all the work that you do.
Anthony, you're on mute.
Anthony, you're muted.
My apologies. Is that better? So just to pick up again, just to say thank you so much, Dov. I see we have nearly 300 participants on this call, and that is a testament to just to how important this is to our South African Jewish community. And thank you so much for all the work you do. And I hope that things will ease and things will become a lot easier as time goes by, and that we can really get back to our homeland. And just in answering everyone's questions, I'll just ask for some patience. I am trying to get through everyone's questions and cover them into categories. So I think one of the, you've covered quite a lot. One of the questions that has come up is, what about Israeli citizens whose children are not Israeli citizens coming back into Israel, and the children are not vaccinated, but the parents are? Is there a way that they can come into Israel? Is it a problem for them to travel and to come in?
So they are allowed to ask for an exception, meaning it's not something which is automatic, but it does very clearly say on the site, I'm looking at it right now as you were asking, I just wanted to double check it, but it does say that children of parents where one of the parents is an Israeli citizen who lives in Israel, and the second parent lives in Chutz La'aretz, meaning it's a situation where the people are separated, then there's an exception that is made. But if both parents are living in America, then, and these children are not Israeli, then they're no different in that situation than any other child. And as the rules are right now, unless they are vaccinated within the last 6 months, they are not allowed to enter. There's no exception that's made in that situation.
And if the kids are Israeli, they're allowed to enter.
Okay. So just, I've heard a lot of rumors myself, and it has come up in the questions here about what vaccines are acceptable to Israel. Is there I've heard rumors that J&J isn't acceptable. 1, 2, that if you've had your J&J booster versus J&J and then we don't have Moderna, but J&J and then a Pfizer. Is there a specific vaccine that is or isn't acceptable in Israel, or are all vaccines accepted?
Liat, do you want to answer, or do you want me to take it?
Yeah, Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer are both accepted in Israel. Johnson & Johnson 1 dose. I know that some of the people here have been offered to do the booster of Johnson & Johnson. So definitely do the booster if you want to go to visit Israel. Pfizer, 2 doses of Pfizer. So for saying that, all the kids under 18 here are not allowed into Israel, unfortunately. I heard some rumors, I don't know if it's right or wrong, that next year they're going to give the second dose of the Pfizer to kids from 12 to 18. We build on that in order to take kids to Israel next year, but we don't have a formal information from the government here. Moderna is also accepted in Israel, and I think those are the vaccines that the people can get here. Yes?
So those are the ones that we're hearing from South Africa, and so it's important for you to know which ones. The truth is that Israel has basically said that all vaccinations at the moment, because they're even opening themselves up in a few days to the Sputnik together with serological tests, but put that aside, and you're also allowed to have combinations, okay? There are times that you might have a struggle with the combinations on the form, and if that happens, be in touch with us and we'll guide you through that. There's a way to circumvent it. So, but you are allowed to have, if that's the way it works out, it is allowed to have combinations as well. So essentially, Liat just listed the booster, the vaccinations that are available in South Africa, and all of those are definitely accepted.
Okay, thank you. We've had a couple of questions about the PCR tests, a little bit of clarification as to when does that 72 hours start? So as an example, somebody flying from Johannesburg or from Cape Town to Johannesburg, then from Johannesburg through Ethiopia to Israel, when would they need to have had that PCR test? Is the 72 hours flexible? Can you have the PCR test at Ben Gurion Airport on arrival? How does that PCR test work? And how flexible are they?
So the 72 hours are
The
for the
PCR
flight
test.
to Israel. It's for the flight to Israel. And you know what? In your question, though, you raised a point, which is when you get to Israel, you also will be doing a PCR test. And there's a link, and maybe Ariella could post it for the test and go to be able to book that in advance. So you're going to have a PCR test before your flight, 72 hours before the leg to Israel, and another PCR test when you land in Israel. And by the way, that PCR test when you land in Israel, the result, that test is what gets you out of your quarantine. There's a mini quarantine, either until you get the negative PCR or until 24 hours, whichever comes first, and then you're finished with your quarantine. I'll answer separately how the quarantine works in Israel, but that's in terms of the PCR test. Ariella just posted the test and go link for those who want to book that test in Israel. Now, here's a very important point. If you had COVID within the last 3 months, it's very likely that if you try to take a PCR test, it's going to show up as positive, and that's going to be an issue. Israel allows you to board your flight if you are between 3 months and 11 days from your flight, you had a positive PCR test, you can fly to Israel without the negative PCR. It's an official rule of Israel. They have sent it to all the airlines. So you'll just show up and you'll show your positive PCR test from within the last 3 months, not within 11 days though, because you have to go through your quarantine, but past 11 days for the last 3 months, and it shall let you on your flight. If they don't, be in touch with us at Yad L'Olim. As you can tell already, we have regular emergencies that are coming up, and we will work to get you onto your flight. That's an important point. But again, you will book your PCR in Israel before your flight with the Test and Go site.
Dov, adding to what you said, we saw a few times that people got positive result in the PCR test that they've done here, and they managed to go to another test and then it came negative. So if you are not sick and you're feeling well and you're getting a positive result, please make your PCR test enough time that it will allow you to get results. And if it's positive and you are not sick and you want to try again, you have enough time to do another PCR test. Okay? And your PCR test, just to emphasize what Dov said, need to be valid in the time you're landing in Israel. So calculate back, if you're landing at 8 a.m., calculate 72 hours before, then is the latest time you can do your PCR test.
Okay. One of the questions that's come up, Dov, and people are asking, what happens when I land in Israel? What happens to me? So I get on the plane, everything's good, I've got my things, I land in Israel, get off the plane, what happens next?
First of all, you kiss the ground and you say, thank God I'm in the Jewish state, the place that we've dreamt of for 2,000 years. That's the first thing. After you've got through that emotion of recognizing that, wow, I could be in the land of Israel. So you're going to, well, two things. First of all, there are going to be some people who will be spot checked, taken aside. It doesn't mean that your world is collapsing. No one is trying to hurt you. It's Israel trying to monitor to make sure that people are keeping to the rules. So there shouldn't be any kind of panic. I don't mind getting emergency phone calls, but when I get them, when they're just routine spot checks, they're definitely not necessary. So that's first of all. Second of all, you'll go through the regular process. You will have your PCR test. That is going to happen, that you are through the test and go. You do not anymore have to go and take a serological test. Again, we're talking about someone who has gotten into Israel, got the green pass, everything's all set. You will show the documentation to anybody who asks for it. If you are called aside, there might be a question mark that they have. Just cooperate with the authorities and give them whatever they're asking for. If for some reason they say that there's an issue and you feel there's no issue, you can definitely be in touch with us at Yad L'Olim. We're right now in the process of helping somebody get released who was held because of a question, and we certainly want to be there to try to help. You are officially in quarantine until you get the negative result of the PCR or 24 hours. However, because you're on the shortened version of quarantine, you are allowed to take public transportation. You are allowed to go on public transportation. And if anybody asks any questions, you'll have your green pass and you'll show them that you have the access. That's number one. Number two, from the Ministry of Health perspective, you are allowed to go and check into a hotel. But I want to caution, many of the hotels have a policy where they say, I don't want somebody coming to my hotel until they have their negative PCR. So you do want to check with your hotel beforehand to make sure that they will allow you to come. You could do it in a hotel. You could do it in an Airbnb. You can go to your family's home and have your own room and own bathroom. And that is how it will work. So that is the process that you go through. So it's not crazy different than your regular time coming to Israel, other than people possibly checking you, spot checking you, that you might not be used to, and certainly the negative PCR, the PCR test that you have to take. I do want to mention, Ariella just posted right now a link, because rules are changing constantly. We update it all the time. There's a link there. You can fill it out with your information and you can get the updates as they come. So it's just important. We're doing this seminar now and I'm so happy, but as time goes along, things can change. By the way, hopefully change to the positive. Hopefully go to the point where we've made more exceptions. We've changed it to more people can come in, and we'll send those updates out, and that's also important.
Okay. Thank you. So still lots of questions around children. Lots of questions around, we get now that under 1 year old, we understand what the process is, but 1 to 18 years old for South African children coming into Israel, questions like if I've had COVID within the last 6 months and have also had one vaccine, is that acceptable? Do we know when children under the age of 18 with one vaccine will be allowed in? Also questions around children going on tour groups. If somebody's on a tour group, will they be allowed in? Some people have heard that tour groups are allowed in, even if you haven't been vaccinated. Are there rules? Is anything in the pipeline about children under the age of 18 coming in terms of having had COVID, having had one vaccine, or going through on a tour group?
So I don't want to say things are in the pipeline because that might be overstating it. I can say there is serious discussion going on a Knesset level. By the way, very much driven by all of us at Yad La'olim who believe that this rule should be changed, that are pushing for recoveries from all around the world to be included as well. So again, I don't want to be misunderstood. At the moment, a child who has recovered within the last 6 months is not allowed to enter Israel based on that. But we are working very, very hard, and we will continue working on trying to extend it that they will be allowed in, and we're certainly will update if we see progress on that front. By the way, there is a rule, for example, that says if someone recovered in the EU, specifically, even more than 6 months ago, that together with one dose allows them to enter Israel. So if we do succeed in extending the rules, expanding it to recoveries all around the world, that would hopefully be the policy for recovery even beyond 6 months and the one dose for anywhere. But at the moment, we haven't made that progress. So I don't want to give anyone a timeline and say it could be this, that, or the other. Right now, we are working on it. There are people who do believe the rules should change, and hopefully that will happen, and we will certainly send out the updates when they do. Obviously, Liat will send out the updates to everyone in touch with the Israel Center and the Zionist Federation. If you go to our link as well, you'll be able to get the updates, just say you want to have those updates. You asked about tour groups, Anthony. There's
Yes.
a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of misinformation. There has been a policy approved by the Corona cabinet. It's not official policy yet. It's going to go through the Knesset to allow tour groups to come when people are not vaccinated within the last 6 months. A tour group does not mean I have a family of 6, let's pick up and go to Israel. Doesn't mean that. It means that you're working with an official tour operator, you're all staying in the same hotel, you're together the entire time. There's a long list of rules. And people think that they saw a number of 5+ people and they assume, okay, now my whole family can go in. That is not the case. If you are working with an official tour operator, a tour group in Israel, and this policy is approved, they will guide you through exactly what that means. It's not something which we are focusing on very much, but you certainly have the ability to reach out to tour groups and try to find out exactly what those policies are. But it does not apply if you are not functioning without an official tour operator in Israel. And even then, it's a little bit gray and unclear what is precisely required.
Okay, so you mentioned a short while ago regarding the rules that have changed in regard to European Union coming into Israel with having had COVID and having had one vaccine. There are a few questions here from people asking regarding coming into Israel from European countries, places like Budapest, people with an EU passports, EU vaccination certificates. Are those acceptable to come into Israel, an EU vaccination certificate? I see someone's having a bit of trouble registering, but coming in from the EU is acceptable to come in from Israel, to Israel?
So if you have the official EU recovery certificate, which has the QR code, I sound like I know what in the world I'm talking about technologically, but I don't. But if it has it, then you have the option on the entry form to load that up, and that will give you your green pass to be able to enter. So they can go on there, fill out the form, load their documentation, and they'll be able to enter based on that. But again, it's very specifically within the EU. The UK, we're expecting some kind of UK acceptance with into that EU documentation policy. That has not happened officially yet, but that is supposed to be happening at some point as well. But right now, anywhere outside the EU, you do not have the ability for the recovery, but in the EU, that document is enough, the official EU recovery document, and you load it up, and then it reads it, and it gives you the green pass based on that.
And then also a question around a B4 visa. Volunteers on a B4 visa, would they be allowed to enter Israel? Are you familiar with the B4 visa?
Anybody who's not a citizen of Israel at the moment, an Israeli citizen, it's kind of shifted from pre-November 1st. They are viewed for this purpose as foreigners who are coming to Israel, and they're bound by the rules. And by the way, the time that really comes up the most, and this definitely can apply to people from South Africa, is people on student visas. There are a lot of people that are student visas, and they say, hey, we'll go on a vacation or visit the family in South Africa. If you have children and you're on a student visa and the children have not been vaccinated within the last 6 months or recovered, they will not be allowed to come back into Israel. So there should be a little bit of a warning there for people to be aware. If you're not an Israeli citizen with a valid Israeli passport, you are not able to just come back and forth, but you're viewed as a foreigner. Again, Israeli citizens, I should just mention it since I'm sure there are people with valid Israeli passports in South Africa and all around the world, you are allowed to travel in and out of Israel as you choose. Your quarantine, though, will be affected by when you're vaccinated. So, for example, if you have a family of Israelis that are living in South Africa, all of you have valid Israeli passports, you can travel to Israel. Of course, you have to do the negative PCR within 72 hours of the flight, and you do your entry form and you fill out there that you're an Israeli. But remember that your children, when they come to Israel, they are going to have to do the 7 days of quarantine when they come here. So just keep that in mind as well.
A couple of questions here regarding the pass, the green pass and the vaccination certificate. So in South Africa, I know for myself personally, my original vaccination certificate was handwritten. It was a piece of paper. They signed it. They wrote the date, the number on it. Is that acceptable? Do you need a valid printed version? Is a digital form acceptable? Can you have a photo of your vaccination certificate? What would be acceptable in respect of your vaccination certificates?
So they do. Sorry, I had a little bit of a delay with the internet. I hope it's working. They do allow any form of the vaccination certificate. It does not have to be digital. Let me emphasize that again. It does not have to be digital. So, for example, I don't know what the local pharmacy is in South Africa, but in America, where I come from, Walgreens and CVS pharmacy, people have their vaccination certificate, and that's enough to be able to get through on the entry form.
Okay. And then the green pass, how long is that green pass valid for? Is there a certain period? Is it only valid for the time that you're in Israel? Or say, as an example, you fly out of Israel, then you fly home, and then you fly back to Israel 3 weeks later. Is there a time limit for the green pass's validity?
The green pass that you get is valid for 1 month from your flight until when you enter Israel. It's for 1 month, and if you stay in Israel longer, you do have to get it extended by going to the health ministry and get it extended that way. So it's 1 month that it's for, and if you leave Israel, that's it. Your green pass, it doesn't continue at that point, and your next time in, you'll have to again ask for it.
Get a new green pass. Is there any talk about Maccabea coming up in July? The 450 South Africans that will be coming through, of which half at least are under 18.
July is so far away in COVID time, no, Dov? Yeah, I think we need to wait and see what's going on. No one can predict what will happen until July, even from the current South Africa situation.
Yeah. That's one of the things that people have to keep in mind, is that all of this is so in flux, and we're getting a lot of questions now, Pesach. And my answer to everybody is, we don't know. I can tell you what the rules are right now. We don't know what will be in Pesach. It depends on the corona situation in your home country. It depends on the corona situation in Israel. It depends on all around the world. That's why it's always important to get the information. And again, I'll ask Ariella if you could post the link for the updates so people can just get those updates and get that information. I think that'll help people very much.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple more questions around the 24 hours, the test, the form that you have to fill in 24 hours before arrival. One of the questions being, do we know when that link will be up again, which I assume we don't at this stage. Complications with Shabbat, being able to complete that form if you're traveling just after Shabbat within 24 hours. It's 24 hours, I assume, from the time that you're due to land in Israel that you would need to complete that form. Is that correct?
No, it's 24 hours from takeoff. This is very important because you have within 24 hours of takeoff, which gives you more time before takeoff to fill the form. And let's say you're flying on Motzei Shabbat. Certainly after Shabbat is over, you can go into the form and fill it out, assuming that it's working. Everything should go smoothly. If it's not working, and this is important, I'm not going to even suggest when the form will start to work again because I don't want to mislead anybody. Until the form starts working again, you just show up with your vaccination certificates, and that's what gets you onto the flight. And we'll have to see exactly how it plays out once you get to Israel and getting your green pass and all of that, and we'll obviously be available to help guide people through that. But again, it's 24 hours before you take off on your flight to Israel.
Okay. Another question regarding the PCR tests. Can you have, so you land in Israel, you have your PCR test, and then you have to wait 24 hours for the results. Is there a rapid PCR test that one can do that is available, and will that affect your wait period when you land in Israel?
So I know that there are people who have tried to go about this, and Israel has a ability for a rapid one when you're leaving Israel, because there are people who are in emergency situations, and I know that people have tried to get their entry one via that path. I don't know how successful they have been or haven't been. I will tell people the system is working well on that front. Really, people are getting their results. We do recommend putting in an Israeli phone number in your entry form, and you can get the results even more quickly. Put your relative's number in or your friend's number in, and we haven't seen any problems with that. If you are in an exceptional situation, let's say you're coming and there's an immediate event of some kind, certainly, God forbid, a funeral, there are ways to be able to get you to those events beforehand, but definitely be in touch with us and we'll help you guide you through that. But generally, it's been working pretty well. People are getting their results and they're getting out of the quarantine in a timely fashion.
And then once you've done that, once you've had your PCR test, the 24 hours has passed, you say you get a notification that it's clear. How does that come to you? Is it emailed to you? Do you get a PDF? How does the green pass arrive? Do you need to print that out? Is it okay for it to be on your phone? What's the process there?
So when you fill out the entry form within the 24 hours of your flight, that's when you get the green pass. We absolutely recommend that everybody print out whatever documentation you can. Very, very important that you print it out and that you have it with you by hand. If you can't, you can't. But we have certainly found that it's very helpful. So your green pass is coming to you again in a regular situation before your flight. You'll have it. You'll be able to show it. It's on your phone, and certainly print it out. We advise again to print out everything possible.
There are a couple of questions around Israelis belonging to a medical aid, saying that the green pass is only available to Israelis as you need to belong to a medical aid. Is that true? You need to belong to some medical aid in order to get the green pass, or can anyone get that green pass?
That in order to get the green pass, you have to be on a medical aid?
Yeah. That you need to belong to a medical aid? Maybe that relates to travel insurance. Is there any connection or link between getting a green pass and having travel insurance?
There's no, they don't ask for it. They don't ask for it. They don't ask for your insurance. Again, it's good for you to have the insurance, but it's not linked to the green pass at all. You get the green pass based on showing that you have the 3 vaccinations. You fill that out on the form or in the EU with the recovery certificate. And then based on that, you will automatically get the green pass.
Okay. I see that everyone, please just check in the chat. There's a lot of links that have been posted there. I do encourage you to copy those links into a different document if you want to keep them. Once the webinar is down, that obviously you won't have access to them. But there's a lot of information that's being posted in the chat that will answer some of your questions. So I do encourage you to read through that chat. Liat, perhaps this is a question more for you. Some questions around making Aliyah. How do these rules bend and flex for people who are making aliyah in terms of vaccinations or non-vaccinations, in terms of quarantine? Is there a difference between somebody traveling and somebody who's going to live in Israel?
So Olim are considered Israeli from the time they're getting their aliyah visa on their passport. So in terms if their vaccine are not valid or they haven't been vaccinated or they have been recovered, they can enter Israel, but they will be requested to be in quarantine as a quarantine rule, 14 days, and it can be shortened to 7 with 2 negative PCR tests. So Olim, kids, it doesn't really matter. You can all come into Israel, and the length of the quarantine depends on the vaccine or the age or the background. Even if you want to be vaccinated in Israel, as an Israeli, there's going to be time until you can get your vaccine, and your vaccine will be valid because you need 14 days after your vaccine to activate it. So even though you will need probably, if parents are vaccinated, kids need to be in quarantine and all that kind of a complex situation in the family, but I believe it's easier when parents can already be out and do the errands while kids are sitting in the home. And in Israel, you can leave your kids at home if they are not too young and go out, yeah.
Okay, but if people are following these protocols as we've described here for visiting Israel, then that quarantine period would obviously be the same. It would be, if you've gone through this process, you've been vaccinated, you do your PCR test, you fill in your form, you arrive and do your PCR, comes back a negative, you're okay. You follow the same.
Most of the traveling people that are allowed to travel now are people that actually going to be in 24 hours quarantine until they will get their PCR test. Israel are not really letting people that need to sit 7 days in quarantine, 14 days in quarantine to enter unless they are like exceptional cases. So quarantine is not really an issue now with tourists that coming into Israel. Quarantine is relevant to Olim or to Israelis that want to enter into Israel. Okay, and not falling under the vaccine validation for be out of quarantine. And Olim, all the Olim that in this call, don't worry, we're giving you a specific guide for all the next Aliyah flight. We instructing each one of you with your personal situation. So don't worry about that.
A question that came up and that has actually been answered in the chat is if you do, once you've had your PCR test at the airport and you're able to go, how do you get there? Can your friends pick you up? Is there a specific way you need to travel now that you're still in that 24-hour period? The answer has been answered here that yes, you can have a friend pick you up. You can find your own transport to your hotel or to the place where you're going to be quarantining for that 24 hours. That's not a problem. Answering the question about the recording, Liat, we will make this recording available to people who would like to
the recording
view it afterwards.
It's all going to be on the SAZF Facebook page and Israel Center Facebook page, and hopefully we can upload it to our website. But on the Facebook page, you can hear it again and get all the information.
And I also want to emphasize, if people have follow-up questions, aside from obviously turning to the Israel Center and the Zionist Federation, you can definitely go to info@yadlolim.org and ask questions. Also to get onto the update list, in case you didn't see the link that was put there, info@yadlolim.org, and we'll put you on the update list because we do want people to have the correct information. I need to say, Anthony and Liat, I think you both would agree, the worst thing is when we get phone calls from people who are being turned back. And I'm not saying this to scare people, but I am letting people understand that the rules are rules. And on the one hand, you want to feel that, of course, Israel will let anybody in, but we are talking about fears that people have of health concerns, and that's why those rules are in place. We happen to agree with many around the world that the rules should be widened and more people should be allowed in. But as long as they are the rules, it's important that you know them. And that's why getting the information is so critical to make sure that you do it right.
I think maybe just to add to you, Dov, 2 websites that you need to look in, or maybe 3. First of all, Yad La'olim, they're doing an amazing job and they're dealing with people for all around the globe. So they're having the most updated information and the way they can solve all the problem. And thank you for all the work that you are doing, Dov. And the other 2 things is the embassy website, the Israeli embassy in Pretoria. You can see all the exceptions, people that can get the permit to get the permit into Israel if you are parents of a kid that's getting married, or God forbid, any other exceptional issue that you need a permit for. And the Government of Israel website, Ministry of Health, all the information are updated there, and they're the most updated information. As we said in all the previous webinars, we're in a very gray time. It means that things are changing on a daily basis. The Government of Israel trying to assist as much people as she can, but there is a lot of people in there between. If you don't have to travel now, and you're not willing to take chances or to be in kind of adventure, don't do it. Wait a bit more until things will be a bit more relaxed. If you're a student in Israel and you want to come to visit your parents and you're not vaccinated, don't play with it. We found again and again that people have been stuck in the last 18 months. So then don't play with it if you are not definitely sure that everything is organized for you and you know where you're going to. Don't book a ticket and then sort your vaccine. Please try to be organized as you are mostly the South African community.
So we have a couple of minutes left, and maybe just an anecdotal. There've been a few questions about and a few comments about hotels, Airbnb. What is it like in Israel at the moment? Are the hotels open? Are they accepting international travel? Is Airbnb buzzing again? What are you seeing Israel opening up to the idea of having people come in? What's going on the ground there?
So first of all, everyone should know that Israel wants people to come back in. I know that sounds, but why are they making all these rules? All they want is to see everyone who can come to Israel, and that's everyone's desire, wall to wall, within the Knesset and the country's leadership. Life in Israel has gotten very much back to normal. I will not get involved in political discussion here at all, but this current government has tried very hard to keep things open while being on top of the corona issues. And by the way, that's part of why they are being so strict about entry, because they want life in Israel to stay as normal as possible, and the fear of some kind of a variant coming in and wrecking all of that is very much in their minds. So yes, hotels are open, Airbnbs are open, athletic events are open. There are rules that we have of being indoors, masks, different things like that, depending on the situation. People getting green passes, certainly people getting vaccinated. So there is, things are open and businesses are open, and there is a feeling of things being normal. And that's why we want to get to a point where people from the outside could come in and be part of that as well. I know that people are asking, when do I think things will change? There's no way I could predict it. I do know I can tell you, hopefully this Thursday, we're having a very important committee hearing in the Knesset related to some of these points. And I've been working as hard as possible to gather together a coalition of MKs to be supportive of expanding how many people, what categories are allowed into Israel. And we will certainly send out that information as it comes. And be in touch with us again at info@yadlolim.org if you want to be added to that list of the updates, or if you see the link in the chat. It's very, very dynamic. And that's why getting the up-to-date information is so critical. But Anthony, life is pretty much back to normal here. Our kids are in school, and we're very happy about that. And people are going to work, and we're very happy about that. And that's very much guiding this government's approach. I saw somebody asked about the website. It's YADLOLIM, yadlolim.org. And if you want to ask a specific question, on the homepage there, you can fill out the form and choose Corona Travel and ask your question there, or you can go to info@yadlolim.org and ask for the updates as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dov. I think we're going to cut it there. I see there are a few more questions that have come in. Please, I encourage you to use the email, use the Yadlolim website, and please be in touch. I see there's some urgent requests there, so be in touch quite urgently. People traveling tomorrow and asking questions about their children. Please be in touch with Dov, or be in touch with Yadlolim to find the answer to your question. A massive thank you, Dov, again for your time. I think this has been most incredible and most informative. The recording will be available to everyone. You are welcome to watch that again, to pick up some more information, and please be in touch if you have further questions.
If I can repeat the thank you, though, and go the other way, I want to thank all of you for your love for Israel, for your support for Israel, for your burning desire to come to Israel. For those of you who have children who are serving here, thank you for raising such incredible children. For those of you who have children who made Aliyah, thank you for raising such incredible children. It's not taken for granted at all. And all of us should always just remember, and I've made this point on every Zoom call that I've done about this topic, we're not gathering together to figure out how do we escape from the czar or from pogroms, or we're trying to figure out how to navigate getting into a Jewish state in the 21st century with a worldwide pandemic. And on a certain level, as difficult and as anxiety-filled as that is, we're very blessed to live in these times. And when you get all stressed about it or even angry or upset, just try to zoom out and try to remember that these are the circumstances that we're dealing with. And always remember that everybody at Yad L'Olim is available to help. And you certainly have Liat, the Israel Center, and the Zionist Federation in South Africa that will always be there to help you as well.
Thank you. Thanks so much,
Thank
Dov. Thank you,
Good
Liat,
night,
and thank you to the
everyone.
team at
And
the SAZF. Evening, everyone. Take care. L'shana haba Yerushalayim.
Amen.
Amen.